At some point, my TBR stopped being exciting and started to be a little bit stressful. In 2026, I decided to do something about it. Every month, I'm using a different theme to finally read down books that have been on my shelves for a long time. For February, in honor of Valentine's Day, my theme is going on a blind date with a book, which means I selected 10 romance-ish type books from my TBR. I wrapped them up beautifully, and then I put a few clues on them. So I know what's in the, well, I probably don't remember all of them, but I know what's in them, but I'm not gonna be the one picking the book. I'm gonna let my mom pick my date, essentially. Whatever she chooses is what I'm gonna be reading and vlogging about during the month. I started 2026 with 158 physical unread books. I own more books than that, but those are just the unread ones. In January, I read 5 books from my shelves, and then I brought in 8 more books in January. I still had some Christmas money that I was spending. So this brings my total number of books at the beginning of February to 161. So this month's theme, like I said, is a blind date with my TBR. So I've got 10 books that I've never touched, I've never read, although they run quite the range of genres. I've got some fantasy, I've got some silly romance ones in here, I've got some contemporary and some adventurous romance books in here. To refresh your memory of the rules, I have to read at least 30% of the book before I decide to DNF.
You don't want me to give you a backup date in case
No.
she gets stood up?
No, oh, that's a good idea, but I don't have enough time. I got a lot of other books that I want to read this month, and February is a short month.
True.
So after finishing or DNFing, then I decide whether I'm going to keep the book or get rid of it. So let's go back in time and meet the potential suitors, if you will. Voiceover Genevieve here is going to tell you about the books. So this is The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love by India Holton. 2 rival magical bird hunters must compete to find a legendary creature, only to discover that the most elusive prize is each other. Expect witty banter, enchanted forests, and a delightful dash of academic rivalry. I was trying to recycle old grocery bags, which was great. I loved the end result, but old grocery bags are very finicky and hard to stick down. I don't even know that I got better as I went, but I know the process now at least. I also had like 3 different brands of paper bags, and different brands resulted in something different. That Time I Got Drunk and Saved a Demon by Kimberly Lemming. After a few too many drinks leading to an accidental rescue, a spice trader finds herself on a chaotic road trip with a very shirtless, very grumpy demon. It's a hilarious, high-heat adventure where the only thing more dangerous than the quest is the chemistry. At some point, I realized that I needed to pay attention to which books I was wrapping, because once they were wrapped, I would not know which ones were which. So I had to start going in a specific order so I wouldn't get confused. Luckily, I figured that out after the first book, so I was able to keep track of them. The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. An overworked publicist finds herself sharing her late aunt's magical apartment with a charming chef who is living 7 years in the past. It's a soulful, time-bending romance about finding the right person at the absolute wrong time. I've read 2 other Ashley Poston books and loved one and did not like the other one. I know this was one of her first ones, and it's one that tons of people talk about loving, so I am excited to give this a try, because I almost feel like her original works are the ones that I like the most, and her more recent ones have not really been my cup of tea. Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. In a Regency England where fairies are real, a young woman living with only half a soul, and therefore no emotions, seeks the help of a prickly, scandalous sorcerer royal. It's a whimsical and touching tale about what it truly means to feel. You can't tell, but I was listening to an audiobook while I did all of this. It was a great way to pass the time. Swordheart by T. Kingfisher, one of my most read authors. When a housekeeper attempts to end her life with an old family heirloom, she accidentally releases an immortal warrior trapped inside the blade. Now they're on a bickering, heartwarming journey across a world filled with legal loopholes and deadly cults. Sharkheart, a love story by Emily Habeck. In a world where humans can mutate into animals, a newlywed couple's life is upended when the husband begins to slowly transition into a great white shark. This is a poetic, bittersweet exploration of grief, devotion, and the limits of love. I don't know why I really want to read this book. It just sounds so fascinating, and I've pitched it to so many people who just think I'm weird. Obviously, my mom read it, and she was not a fan. I don't think she 100% disliked it, but I don't know that she would recommend it to others. I still can't wait to read it to see what it's all about. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. An aging, reclusive Hollywood icon is finally ready to tell the truth about her glamorous life and her 7 marriages. But the biggest secret is who held her heart all along. It's a sweeping cinematic journey through the golden age of cinema. This is one my mom has read and keeps trying to tell me that I don't really know what it's about. She's doing a really good job of not spoiling it for me. I believe this is the first book in the Read verse, if you will, but I could be wrong, don't quote me on it. I know it was her big breakout, but yet, not one they've turned into a movie or a show yet. Alright, this next one is Violet Thistlethwaite is Not a Villain Anymore by Emily Krempholtz. After a lifetime of playing the part of the wicked rival, a reformed villainess decides to retire to a quiet life, only to be dragged back into the drama by a persistent hero. It's a cozy metafiction romp about rewriting your own destiny. This is not the original cover. This is an OwlCrate edition. I think this was the December OwlCrate, if I remember right. This book just came out in November of last year, so it's a pretty recent release. Empire of Shadows by Jacqueline Benson. In the lush jungles of 19th century South America, a gifted cartographer and a mysterious adventurer race to find a lost city before a dark power consumes the world. This is a classic high-stakes romantic adventure perfect for fans of Indiana Jones. There's so many of these that I would love to read. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is one that I'm more apprehensive about reading. I have no idea why. And then Sharkheart, I want to read, but I keep hearing meh things about, but I also hear really good things about it. So those are the two that I'm very about. And then last but not least, this is also not the original cover. So The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow. Two souls find themselves tethered across multiple lifetimes, constantly searching for one another through different eras and identities. It's a lush lyrical exploration of a love that refuses to be ended by time or death. This is an OwlCrate edition. This is one of the ones that I think I would have been happy with the original cover. The original cover has some gorgeous flowers on it, but I was registered for OwlCrate and this was one of the picks. I'm not unhappy with it. I think I just like the other cover as well. This is based off of an incredibly short story that Alex E. Harrow wrote that I read and was just like floored and fascinated by, so I am really excited to read The Everlasting. Here I am putting on my little date descriptors again, making sure that I don't get the stack out of order because that would really mess things up, but I'm not going to tell you what these say because my mom will read all of them for you. Okay, so you now know, you as the viewers, now know all of the books, but my mom is going to do the picking, so I'll be another lap if you want. So go ahead, you can start going through all the dates if you will.
All right, the first one is if you're looking for someone open-minded who believes love can exist in a strange and imperfect form.
I'm going to try really hard not to respond because I like all these books. I want all of them. There's some that I want more than others though, so I'm going to do my best poker face.
All right, well, just hold that one.
Okay.
Here's one if you're looking for someone intrigued by secrets, a slow burn tension, and feelings that develop in dangerous places. Oh, I don't want you dating somebody taking you to dangerous places. It's a heavy book too.
Should I make like a yes/no pile with my hands or something?
I did. I think I may have already picked one out, but I haven't read them all.
Okay.
Looking for someone who enjoys beauty, longing, and love that feels timeless and tragic. Love should not be tragic. Looking for someone who believes people can change and someone who is willing to see past first impressions. Now this one,
it's a contender.
That's a contender.
Okay, I'll put it up here.
Okay. Looking for someone who can handle intensity, ambition, and a life that's anything but simple. Is this Mosquito Coast?
Wait, that was a book? I know it was a movie.
I don't know if it was a book. Looking for someone who enjoys chaos, banter, and questionable decisions made at 2 a.m. Now, as your mother, no, but
you would have dated that person.
I probably would have. Looking for someone patient, emotionally available, and open to love that just doesn't arrive on schedule. Yeah.
Okay.
Looking for someone kind, observant, and willing to move at a gentle pace.
Okay. Oh, this book's so light, though.
I know.
This one could float away.
This one's a heavy one. This is looking for someone who likes dry humor, protective energy. What's protective energy?
Like somebody that protects, like...
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And being teased with affection.
Oh.
And finally, looking for a partner who appreciates wit, wordplay, and situations that spiral delightfully out of control. Oh, that one sounds fun. All right.
Okay, so you've narrowed it down to those?
We've narrowed it down to these. How many books are you planning on reading this?
Just one.
Oh,
You only
there's
get to pick
4.
one date.
Who believes people can change and are willing to see past first impressions. Chaos, banter, and questionable. See, I like that. Questionable decisions made after. I don't think any non-questionable decisions are made after 2 a.m.
True.
Someone who likes dry humor, protective energy, and being teased with affection. Oh, that's awful sweet, but...
No? Okay.
And then this is a paperback.
I think a lot of them were paperbacks, but not all of them.
A partner who appreciates wit, wordplay, and situations that spiral delightfully out of control. All right, this is the one.
Okay, I actually don't remember.
Oh,
what
good!
This
I
one
picked
is.
one she's not sure of.
Okay, all right. Oh, here. Okay, so this is the one she picked. And then I'm going to try to open it so that they get to see first. I think I know. Hold on. I wanted this one.
Oh,
That's okay.
That's
okay. Like I said, I want all of them. But, okay, let's see. It is a paperback. It is, this is a good one. Oh, it's upside down. I'm excited about this one. So it's The Ornithologist's Guide to Love. You know what an ornithologist is? Field guide.
Bird person?
Yeah, ornithologist field guide to love. So rival ornithologists hunt through England for a rare magical bird in this historical fantasy rom-com reminiscent of Indiana Jones, but with manners, tea, and helicopter parasols.
Oh, that sounds like something I'd like to read.
Well, I will let you know. So it's Super Bowl weekend, it's Olympics weekend, and I am not a sports girly, so I thought it would be a good time to start the book that my mom picked for me, which is The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. I'm going to tell you a little bit about it, but before we get into that, I thought I would give you a little bit of an update. This month is pretty boring, actually. Well, I shouldn't say it's boring. It's very adulting. We had a lot of exciting adult things happen. We had a leak in our ceiling that turned out to be coming from our furnace, and so we had to get a whole new furnace. And when you get a new furnace, they suggest that you also get a new air conditioning unit because they're typically installed together. They were on year 20, so I'm sure they were due, but it's never fun to do all those adult things. So that's what we did over the past week. We don't really have any exciting things for the month. It's Valentine's week is coming up, but we don't really ever do a whole lot for Valentine's Day, mostly because we'd have to find a sitter. I could probably coordinate with my mom, but my mom also goes out and does things for Valentine's Day. So I don't know, we just try to stay home and do fun family things. So I'll tell you about my incoming books. I think these are probably going to be my only 2 incoming books this month, which is probably good because I had a lot last month. I wasn't super interested in any of the Aardvark picks this month, so I'm not going to get any Aardvark books. I skipped the January OwlCrate, and OwlCrate usually comes pretty late, so I might get the February OwlCrate book, but probably not before this posts. They usually come towards the end of the month, so we'll see if that falls into the incoming or not. I did, however, I purchased these 2 books, very different books. The one I got, I've heard really good things about it, and Books and Lala mentioned the audio narrator, and it's one that I like. The audio narrator is one that I absolutely love, and the plot sounded interesting. Female fantasy. I mean, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a fantasy romance book. So this is just paperback. This is the cover, and then when you open it, it looks like, like it ripped and then that's the actual underneath. I just thought that was cute. So I got this, and then this, totally out of left field, The Master and the Margarita. Obviously this is a classic. I'm not gonna lie, I purely bought this because of the cover. I'm gonna have to do some prep before I read this. I don't know that I'll get to this in 2026, don't quote me on that, because I think this is going to involve some really intense research while I read it. I have watched a couple videos before I bought it. I watched some videos about, what it is to read and why it's important to read and things like that. And so the plot sounds interesting, but I know I'm really going to have to be like all in to read this one. Anyway, I'm gonna have to really commit to reading this one. So those are probably my only two incoming books this month. I don't think I'll do any unhauls. I don't have like a stack to unhaul or anything, so it might be, March or April before I accumulate enough to unhaul, probably more so in April. Yeah, those are all the incoming books I have for now. Let's get into, learning about India Holton's The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. One of my goals this year was to have really good digital tracking, and I was looking at when I bought this book, and I bought it last year, which I knew I bought it last year, and I bought it in the summer, and I was trying to remember why I had heard of it. I have read other like Regency era romances. I also consider like the Emily Wilde series, that time period. I don't know if I guess they do have the date on all of hers. That's more of like a historical fantasy romance, and they are usually like right up my alley, but I can't for the life of me remember why I had heard about this book. I was glad that this was the one that was picked. In January, I was very ambivalent to a lot of those picks. They were books that have been around for a really long time, and obviously I hadn't been super motivated to read any of them. I'm glad I forced myself to read, to pick one and read. There weren't any that were like, oh yeah, you gotta read this like now. This time, almost every single thing on that list I would have been super excited to get. There was a couple of them that I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready for that. And then there were a couple of them that the only reason I was apprehensive was because of how long they were. They were gonna be more of a commitment, but honestly, I would have been fine with any of them. This is a great one. And this is part of a series, and I believe the third one in the series is coming out this year. But they're like most romances, they're episodic series. So they're in the same world. They probably have visiting characters, but it's not important that you read them in order. So I'll give you the little synopsis for this book. Rival ornithologists, which if you are unaware, that's bird, there's a bird on the front. So these are people that are interested in birds. Rival ornithologists hunt through England for a rare magical bird in this historical fantasy rom-com, reminiscent of Indiana Jones, but with manners, tea, and helicopter parasols. So it sounds like it's got a little bit of steampunk kind of fantasy to it. Beth Pickering is on the verge of finally capturing a rare bird when Professor Devin Lockley swoops in, stealing both her bird and her imagination like a villain, albeit a handsome and charming villain, but that's beside the point. And then it sounds like it might be dual POV, because then the next paragraph says, for this part, Devin has never been more smitten than when he first set eyes on Professor Beth Pickering. She's so pretty, so polite, so capable of bringing down a fiery, deadly bird using only her wit. In other words, an angel. Devin understands he must not get close to her, however, since they're professional rivals. So this sounds like an enemies to lovers, but I'm hoping we get some of the male POV. I really do enjoy books when you get both male, female point of views. And then who doesn't like a he falls first, where you get to hear all about his pining. I set this up for annotating last night. I was actually going to start reading it last night, but I ended up falling asleep on the couch. And I noticed that at the front, it has a table of significant characters, which I think is interesting. It says in order of appearance too, almost like a play or a movie where they give you the characters in order of appearance. So we'll have to see if there's a reason that it's like that. So I'm probably going to start reading some of this today while the Super Bowl's on or while other sporty events are being watched. But before I get to reading, I was thinking about the books that I was going to read this month, and I originally had Jane Eyre on my to-read list because I'm making my way through books that my mom had kind of like picked or gamified for me to read. So I read Pride and Prejudice, which if you haven't seen that wrap up, it's already been posted. It's our Book Olympics wrap up, so go watch that if you haven't seen that, or finish watching this, then go watch that maybe. And then I started out this month with Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. Throughout January, I was also reading bits and pieces of Gloria Steinem's Courageous Acts and Everyday Rebellions. I think that's what it's called, which is a series of essays, and I've been listening to it and kind of visually reading them every once in a while. While all of those have been interesting and enlightening for their very specific reasons, there are books that are outside of my comfort zone, if you will, which has been fine. I love reading new books and trying new things, but I think it's been too much. And so the thought of reading Jane Eyre was just like, I can't do it. And it's like 19 hours, and that's a commitment, especially for a short month like February. So I made the decision. I was feeling like my TBR was becoming stressful, and that's not the point. So I nixed Jane Eyre from my February TBR, and then I got really excited because I was like, what should I pick? And so I was going to present the options to you all. I thought maybe you could help me decide what to read as my last book in February, because this will post in time for comments. Very different contenders. The first contender was a book that I purchased last month, Chain Gang All-Stars. So this is I think it's technically considered fantasy, or it's magical realism is probably more the general idea. The prison system has enacted a new way to get out of jail, and it involves participating in like gladiator type events, and the prize of the winning the event is their freedom, but you also are at risk of peril. So that's Chain Gang All-Stars. A Far Better Thing, which is an H.G. Perry book which I haven't read any H.G. Perry yet. It's a retelling of A Tale of Two Cities, but with fairies, like fae fairies. So that's A Far Better Thing. This Princess Kills Monsters. I mean, I feel like the title says it all, and the cover is absolutely gorgeous. It's about a princess who's sick of, leaving it up to destiny, and so she decides that she's gonna go in and she's gonna rescue herself, is kind of the easiest way to put it. Another one that I've had on my shelves for a little bit, for almost a year, Where the Dark Stands Still. So it's about a girl that has powers. I believe she ushers people to the other side, if I remember right. But then she's caught by a demon of the woods, and he offers her a bargain, 1 year of servitude to him in exchange for a wish. That's Where the Dark Stands Still. And then this last one is also one I purchased around the time I purchased Chain Gang All-Stars. So I'm Medusa. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. But my daughter, her January, I think it was the January Once Upon a Book Club book, was a middle grade Medusa story. It was part of a series, and she was reading it and she was loving it, and she kept telling me all about Medusa, and it was right around the time that I got this, and so I was like, I should read a Medusa book along with her, and so she's done with hers, but it would be kind of fun to read this and then compare our Medusa stories. This is written by a BIPOC author. It's not a debut or anything. It's presenting Medusa in another light instead of being like the monstrous villain, which is actually what my daughter's middle grade was about. If you're seeing this and you feel like chiming in on what should be my last book of February, I'll put the contenders up. So vote in the comments on what you think I should read, although they're very different genres. Okay, well, I think I'm gonna go start reading some Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. I'll be sure to check in, and I think my phone just went off. My mom's supposed to come over, and we're gonna try to film some videos, and then we're all gonna watch the Super Bowl together, eat some good food. So until my mom gets here, I'm gonna try to get some reading done, and I'll see you again soon. Good morning. I am about to go to work, but I wanted to make sure that I caught you up on my book that I'm reading. I'm about 33% of the way in. So I knew the book was about birds and scientists and that it was a romance, but now I know a little bit more of the plot. So it's 1800s Europe. It actually doesn't start out in England, but they're trying to get to London. And it's a time when magical birds exist. A lot of birds can be dangerous. They've run into a number of potentially dangerous birds already. And ornithologists are ornithology is actually a scientific avenue, but in this world, ornithologists go after these magical birds and either give them to museums, or some of them illegally smuggle them or sell them for nefarious purposes, kind of like the exotic animal industry in actuality. But it's not that serious. This is a very lighthearted book. At the beginning of this book, our main character, Beth, and Beth works with a more widely renowned ornithologist who has an amazing name. And she's almost like her assistant. Okay, so Beth is trying to get tenure. She is a professor. She's a young professor, but she just wants to do research and she never gets funding. And so she works with this other woman, so she has the ability to go around. And a contest has been announced by the International Ornithology Society, the IOS, to capture this specific bird. If you lived in this world, you would think that everybody was an ornithologist, because as soon as this is announced in the newspaper, everybody starts running after it. And they talk about how ruthless the ornithology world is, and there's a lot of backstabbing and conniving and putting each other in danger. The style of this book, at first I could not think of the word. I ended up looking it up last night. It reminded me of Rocky Horror Picture Show, not in theme, or it's obviously not a musical, but in humor, in the sense that it is not taking itself seriously. It's campy, but campy to me always sounds negative. It's a good kind of campy. When I was doing some Googling last night, meta came up. It takes those tropes of Victorian Europe or 1800s Europe and exacerbates them and almost makes them silly. I suppose you could say satire, but it doesn't really have the satire kind of feel. But I think campy is probably the best word, but in such a good way. It's so funny. I find myself laughing out loud a lot. Yes, sir, I know I have to do my video quickly. I have to go to work. I went through a phase of reading a ton of romance books, and I have, shifted into fantasy. This is a romance book. It has the very, the plot structure, the vibes of a romance, which is totally fine. Every interaction with the male counterpart is Devin, and of course it's her academic rival. He also works with somebody else who is the rival of the person that Beth works with. So they often find themselves in competition with each other because their counterparts are in competition with each other. But every interaction is, for him, it's swoony. He's your scoundrel that's just thinks she's beautiful and wants to ruffle her feathers. There's a lot of bird puns in here too. She is just very studious and wants to do her job, and of course doesn't want to be distracted by him. Early on in the plot, they get separated from their people that they're working with. I really wish I could come up with a better name. And they end up having to work together to get back in the race, because the big thing that these two want, not only will you be, if you catch this bird, will you be birder of the year, but you're going to get tenure. And as somebody that has been in academia and knows that world, tenure is a much sought after thing. So that's what they really want, is tenure. The humor of the book is, there's so many things that I'm just laughing at and smirking at and highlighting, because it really is just funny how much it's not taking itself seriously. But it really is, it's a good time. And so even though it has the romance tropes, they swoon when they first see each other, they end up in all of these weird situations. One that they just ended up in, which I think is a good example of how campy it is. So obviously we know the one bed trope, and these two end up at a hotel, and of course there's no rooms. And so you're just expecting, well, I have this one room, but it only has one bed. But no, that's not what happens. It's the opposite of the one bed trope. And that is an example of how India Holton is just kind of flipping the script. So even though I haven't read any romance in a while, this was just perfect. Prior to this, I actually just finished T. Kingfisher's Paladin's Faith or Hope. I was the third one. I can't remember what the third one is, which was a really good transition from, I've been reading a lot of fantasy, and this was like a, fantasy fairy tale, like with romance. And so it was almost like I'm easing my way into romance. I remember how easily romance is to read. You just want to like stay up all night. I read like 3 or 4 chapters last night, like just back to back before I went to bed, because you always want to know, what's next, and you want to see their interaction, and it's just so cute, and there's lots of witty banter, and you're just like smiling and smirking along with them, and you want to get through the book to see where their relationship goes, to get to the kiss, or to the, the moment, or the time when he finally admits what's going on, all that fun stuff. I will say this is exactly what I thought it would be, almost better actually. I've read other romance books that take place in, like the 18 and 1900s. The tone is not serious like those. And then I've read lots of other romance books, and so it is reading quick like a romance book. But I knew it was going to be funny. I knew something was going to be different about it, because why else would a weird book about birds and romance like catch so many people's attention? I'm trying really hard to not immediately buy the next one, because that kind of would be the antithesis of what I'm trying to do here. But I'm really enjoying it. And like I said, not only is there a second one, which I think follows a different character and maybe even a different job type. I don't think it's ornithology. I think it's map makers or geographers or something like that. But there's a third one that's coming out later this year, and they all have a similar like cover and vibe, and I'm just really enjoying it. So I will definitely be purchasing them. Gonna try not to do it right now. That's where I'm at now. Like I said, I'm about a third of the way through. They're trying to make their way back to find the other people. They've both decided they're not going to work with their counterparts anymore. They're going to go off on their own. Now they're in that moment of, she's like, well, I can't stick with him. He's a rogue, he's a scoundrel, but he keeps sticking with her. And every time she thinks that he's left her and abandoned her, or is going to leave her, or is going to make fun of her, or is, fill in the blank, whatever self-deprecating thought she has, he's right there. I think they're still coming to terms with the fact that they are working together. There is something going on in the background. There are some other characters that it's very obvious that they're trying to foil the plot and drive a different narrative. You don't really know what's going on with that, so there's a little bit of a mystery there. You can't tell what the goal seems to be, to encourage interest in the career of ornithology. So there is like a little subplot that's behind the scenes, and every once in a while you get to hear from those characters too. It is a dual narrative. You mostly hear from Beth's point of view, but every once in a while you do hear from Devin's point of view, which is always great, because I always like to hear the male characters. It's not even that she's self-deprecating, she's just very academic and focused on the birds, and isn't like, and then she's like, but that can't be why I feel this way, it has to be this, sometimes that gets to be too much. So it's nice to hear another side of it, another perspective, where you get to hear all the wonderful things about Beth. So that's where I'm at now. I gotta go to work because it's Tuesday, and so I'll check in with you guys again when I'm farther into the book. Good morning again. I wanted to do another quick check-in with the Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love before I finish it, basically. So I never intended on doing these so early in the morning, but I'm just plugging away through the book, and I don't want to get too far without giving you guys a check-in. And I have some surprise book mail. My book box subscription showed up earlier than I thought it would, so I figure we could do that together too. Let's see, what do we do first? Let's do this. I got it yesterday, and I almost always just open these, and so I haven't even opened it. This is the February OwlCrate, and it's February 12th, and it has already shown up. I don't think I've ever gotten one that quickly. They normally don't come till the end of the month. I'm pretty sure I know what it is. I skipped last month's because I wasn't as excited about it. This was actually, I think it was showing up in lots of book boxes. It was suspected to be in a lot of them, and it was also, if I'm correct, it was one of the Aardvark books. If it had not been an OwlCrate, I would have probably gotten it as an Aardvark maybe, but I was suspecting that this would be that, and so I skipped my Aardvark in lieu of this, because I definitely don't need 2 copies of a book. If it is what I think it is, I will put the original copy up so we can compare. So we're looking at this together. Oh, I love their little crinkle paper they use. They don't use styrofoam or anything, and it's just little folded paper. But I don't know what to do with it without my cat getting all over it. Ooh, okay, it is what I thought it was. I'll take the plastic off carefully without cutting. This is always my most terrifying part because the plastic is so close to the edges of the book that I don't want to damage them. I don't want to accidentally slice it open with my finger or the scissors and then, okay, that should be enough. Oh, okay, let's see if I can do this without a lot of glare. It looks nothing like the original cover. It does have a similar vibe. I'm not a huge fan when the artist's vibe on these is completely different than the original vibe, unless it's a more accurate representation of the book. So here's the back of the dust jacket. Oh, this is really pretty. Okay, so here's the naked hardcover. It's got, I don't know if you can tell, it's got a red gold foiling on it. I'll open it and just, so here's the reverse dust jacket. I don't even think this is the original cover. Sometimes they'll do a reverse dust jacket that's like the original, and I don't even think this one's like that. It has foiling on it too, so that's beautiful. And then the end pages. So some character art. Very different vibe from the other sides, but maybe, I'm sure once you read the story, these make sense. So yeah, this is a good one. I've really enjoyed just about every edition I got. I think my very first one, the very first OwlCrate I got was Gifted and Talented, and I actually like the original cover better. Not that I dislike the other one, it was just not nearly as exciting. If I remember right, if you flip it, the reverse is the same. I can't remember, I'll have to go look and see. But I also didn't like any of the other, I didn't like Fairy Loot's edition and I didn't like the other ones. Oh, I don't even know if I told you what it was. So this is The Poet and the Empress. I'm pretty sure this is the debut novel by Shen Tao. In the waning years of the Azalea dynasty, the emperor is dying and the land is consumed by famine and poverty. Magic is lost to all except the powerful. Wei Yin is desperate. After her fifth death of a sibling, with her family and village on the brink of starvation, she will do anything to save those she loves, even offer herself as a concubine to the cruel, dissolute heir of the blood-glutted Azalea house. But in a twist of fate, the inner court stands on the knife's edge of a civil war, with Wei now at the center as the prince's chosen. I'm really excited about that. It just came out and it's been all over. Well, all of the book boxes are doing it, which is probably just more marketing than anything. Hopefully it's also a good book. I've heard a lot of people that got advanced reader copies and things like that read it and really liked it. Really quickly, let's talk about Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love. I am about 3/4 of the way in. That's why I wanted to make sure I did a check-in before I accidentally finished it without checking in again. I'm still really enjoying it. I love the witty banter, their conversations with each other. They know they like each other. They're full in. I love how Devin talks, well, I shouldn't say talks. He thinks it in his head, but you get to hear it in his head. I love how he talks about Beth, how he thinks about her and how we get to read about his thoughts. That's why I really love a good dual narration with the male POV in a romance. It's very swoony and he says some of the sweetest stuff. They are working together. They keep thinking that the other one's going to abandon the other and then they don't, which has been great. I think we might get through the book without a typical third act breakup or whatever you want to call it, which would actually kind of be cool. Like I said, this book has been taking a lot of romance tropes and almost flipping them on their head a little bit, like you're expecting it, but then it doesn't quite happen, which has been really refreshing actually. Not that, I understand why some books need those. I like to see that a story can be written without that, without me getting frustrated at one of the characters. A lot of the banter is really fun and swoony, and I've been underlining and highlighting just some great lines. I adore the characters. The tone and writing style are still really witty, and they're making the plot move along. I will say the plot is getting a little cyclical. It's part of the story. They take a step forward and then somebody essentially tries to get in their way and then they work with each other to get out. But I can tell we're getting to the end, it's all getting somewhere. So even though it feels a little cyclical, it hasn't ruined my reading. reading experience. I wanted to go back and see what my date tag was that was on it now that I'm farther into the book. And so it was looking for a partner who appreciates wit, wordplay, and situations that spiral delightfully out of control. Yes, I would say that's exactly what kind of date this is. I think I might know where the surprise twist is going. I don't even know if surprise is what you would say for this, but you never know. I could be totally wrong. And yeah, like I mentioned, I think it would be really interesting to find a romance book written without that typical like third act breakup, if you will. So it's Fake Friday. There's no school tomorrow, and then there's no school on Monday because of President's Day. We get to dress down today for Valentine's Day. My daughter's in one of the lower grades, and so they have a Valentine's Day party today, so they get to dress down. And we also in the middle school get to wear like pink and red, and we always like it when we get to be comfy. Tomorrow we do have like teacher meetings and things like that, but by the week's end, I'm usually exhausted and like fall asleep at 9 o'clock without any intention of doing so. But who knows? Maybe I'll finish it today, but if I don't finish it today, I'm definitely going to finish it tomorrow, and I'll make sure to do a check-in at the end and then let you know what's coming up for my next month. All right, until then, I'll get reading. So I finished The Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, and I loved it. I thought it was a nice little different romance that took a lot of those tropes and flipped them on their heads, totally flipped the script. It still met, a lot of your romance criteria. There was a lot of longing glances and cute little adorable things said about each other and situations that they were put in to be together. But the way it was written, it sounded like it was supposed to be that way. It wasn't taking itself too seriously. I've definitely read my fair share of romance, and you'll notice a pattern in the romance books, which is totally fine. That's, sometimes you read romance books because that's what you want. You want consistency. You want to know there's going to be a happily ever after. This met that criteria, but it did it in a way that when you thought you knew what was going to happen, something different happened. It wasn't like a twist. There wasn't like a shocking twist, but it was able to tell the story without all of those tropes and plot devices that you typically see in romance books, which was just really great. So I'm definitely keeping this one and probably going to look into getting the second one. I think the second one, it's like the geographers something, so it's not ornithologists. In this book, the male main character, Devin, has a cousin that we meet. I think it was more than half. I feel like it was like maybe 60 some odd % of the way in the book we meet his cousin, and you find out that Devin doesn't really have a whole lot of family, and so his cousin is like his brother, and then his cousin's sister, also his other cousin, is like a sister to him, and I believe, well actually I know, that his cousin Gabriel is who the second book is about. We meet him in this book, and we know he's a geographer. He's at a geographer's convention, and Devin makes fun of the fact, like, why would you go into geography? And then Amelia is his other cousin, which is Gabriel's sister, and she is actually, there's a third book coming out. I can't remember what the job in the third book is, but that one is going to be the third one, and it's coming out later this year. I will put both of the covers up here, so if you're interested, but definitely am interested in those, but I don't feel like I need to read them right away because they are very like episodic. It's not like this had a cliffhanger or anything like that. I really enjoyed this. It was what I expected and more. So like I said, it met all of those romance tropes, but in a different way, which was just really, really great. The date style that I wrote for this, that was a really good way to summarize this book. If you're looking for a romance book that doesn't take itself too seriously, but is also swoony and gives you the pitter patters and makes you have all the feels. These are my all the feels tabs, but also does it in a way that you haven't really seen before, then this is the book that you want to check out. I'm actually even thinking about recommending it to my mom. I know she's read like some romance in her past, but I think this is different enough that she would get a kick out of it. So we'll see if she reads it or if she's interested in it. Before I let you go, so I know I shared this book that I got in the mail the other day. It was a lot darker actually. So sorry, I'm actually filming in regular daylight now instead of before the sun has come up. But anyway, so I got this book and I absolutely love it. I think it's gorgeous. The edges, you know, they normally have like these very fancy edges, which this isn't just sprayed. This is like metallic-y. It's like very gold. I'm sure you can see the reflection on there. But then I was on, I think it was Instagram, because I'm not on too many social media things, but I was poking around on Instagram, and OwlCrate's Instagram showed me something about these edges that I didn't even realize, so I had to share it with you because I was just like, oh my gosh, that's so cool. Let's see if I can do it on camera. When you bend the book, there we go. Let's see if it does it better this way. They actually make like the pretty floral design. You can do it in either direction. It's like those books where when you would look at them from the different angles, you would see different pictures, but it's like when you are bending the pages, that the actual like image on the edges show. And I just thought that was so cool. And they showed it on their Instagram, and I was like, oh my gosh, I did not even realize. I never would have realized that it did that if I hadn't seen that. I wonder, it even does it on the top too, but I don't think you can bend it on the top to do it. How do I? Maybe you can kind of see it that way. This really is like a stunning edition, and definitely glad I got this one. I've been so far really happy with OwlCrate. I know what books are coming. I am not a fan of spending a lot of money on books that I'm not going to read, because then I feel like I have to get rid of them. Like I don't want them on my shelves, or I feel pressured to read them. So I keep an eye on what's coming. So I'd skip them if I don't want them. But I haven't skipped that many. I used to want to be a part of Fairy Loot, and I really wanted the Fairy Loot Night in the Moth. But honestly, like I've been keeping an eye on what's been coming out, and I have not been interested in any of the recent Fairy Loots since the Night in the Moth. But every single OwlCrate that I've gotten, I have really enjoyed. And I mean, I haven't read all of them. And the way they look has also been really great. There's a couple of them that, you know, it's like, oh, I probably could have gone with the regular edition and I would have been just as happy, but I don't regret buying them. So anyway, but I just wanted to share those edges because I didn't even know that did that. And so it was like very exciting. So that's it for this month's Read Down My TBR. I'm hoping to get this posted right after Valentine's Day. So I hope that you had a wonderful, lovely Valentine's Day. I hope that you also partook in an excellent date with a book, or maybe a date with a significant other, however you want to enjoy your Valentine's Day. If you have any thoughts about the Ornithologist's Field Guide to Love, or if you want to tell me what one of your best book dates has been, then leave it in the comments. If you're enjoying this series, next month in March for St. Patrick's Day, my theme will be feeling lucky. That's all I'm going to tell you for now, so make sure you give me a like and subscribe so you don't miss the next video in this series. Until then, happy reading!